find the glide of your boat. 100 strokes, then turn, sprint back. Paddle set. Pep.
I think what inspires me the most is the fear of not doing it anymore. Of understanding that life is momentary and that it's going by fast.
Today we were trying to think of how we could adapt surfing and paddleboarding and calisthenic and endurance type of training. And so we were trying everything, man. We tried, hanging upside down and, doing one-arm hang workouts and just all kind of crazy stuff.
I'm not trying to train somebody for a year. I have no interest in that. I want to train you probably for the rest of your life.
Spend more time in your recovery stroke.
Kind of coaching you a little bit. My philosophy on training was, I don't give a shit about any of that. I don't want to hear about your personal life. I don't want to hear about if you're having a bad day, because I'm going to take you away from all that. I'll be the hour and a half in a day where you don't think about anything. You'll be happy to get back to that stuff by the time we're done training.
My name's Christian Cook. I live down in St. Petersburg, Florida. And down here we got a big passion for being out on the water and really spending as much time on the water as possible, anywhere from 4 to 7 days a week sometimes. I started surfing when I was 38, and I basically went out surfing for about 20 minutes, and I went home and slept for like 2 hours, and I realized like physically I was a freaking joke. So I started from scratch. I kind of shook it off and I said, you know what? I'm actually going to learn how to surf. I started surfing, and it took me about 7 months to catch my first wave. And the only reason I caught the wave, bro, was because I was paddling out and a big wave came and turned me around, and I was on it and I stood up and I was basically hooked. And everything I did from that moment forward was to be a better waterman or be a better surfer.
We are brought into this world with an inherent desire to survive, a desire to know the answers, a desire to achieve and maintain happiness. These are the foundational driving elements to our existential being. We yearn for passion and purpose and rarely find a source. For the waterman, there's an ocean that moves us, an undying fire inside, fueled by the sea, burning reason and desire. The Polynesian pioneers of surfing acknowledged this from the beginning and referred to its source as mana, a source from which one derives their power. When we tap into this source, we're provided with answers, happiness, a passion for survival. There then becomes an unrelenting desire to explore the depths of our power, to push the limits harder and farther than ever thought possible. For us, a desire to be a better waterman.
A brief background on why I chose to share Christian's story. I was always a fitness fanatic. Fitness was the cornerstone of my daily life. I was a personal trainer. I was in the military for 6.5 years. I had been surfing since I was 16 years old. I'm 35 now. But after I left the military, it seemed like I kind of lost all motivation. I had no structure, zero accountability, and I just stopped working out. Got really out of shape, didn't even realize it. I came to the realization I was out of shape when I went surfing with a buddy. We had some really good waves on the East Coast for a couple days. And when when I went out, I had zero balance. I was exhausted. It looked like I had never been surfing before in my life. I was embarrassed. So on the drive home, talking with my buddy, and I was like, man, I'm so out of shape. I got to do something, And he's like, you should call this guy Christian. I've worked out with him a couple times, and he does all these workouts, these like crazy workouts that are based around surfing and surf movements. And I was like, yeah, I'll give him a call. And I didn't really think I was going to give him a call, but I got home, and for some reason I did. And when I talked to him, it sounded like he didn't even want my business, because he was just like, I don't want to train you if it's, just going to be a couple sessions, and, I'm not interested in just doing one and done. This is going to be a commitment. And I was like, all right, man, it sounds pretty intense. I knew how to work out, obviously, but I just felt like I needed somebody to hold me accountable. So I went in, and when I worked out with them, I was just blown away at these workout movements we were doing, and it was unlike anything I had done before. It was so creative, and you could just tell how these movements were helpful, and you could incorporate them into being a better surfer. And not only that, I was just blown away by his attitude, his drive, his passion for the sport, for water sports. And I found that so admirable. He's got this passion for surfing and for the water, and he's built everything he does around that, and I think that's something we all aspire to do. It's something I aspire to do. I want my work, I want my daily life to encompass what I'm passionate about, and that's what he does, and it's truly inspiring.
Every sport has a customized program in which each athlete is tuned to their optimal performance level through relevant movements and essential focal points. In football, a defensive back's main objective is to overpower their opponent and bring them down to the ground. For this, a training program would focus on strength and power. In boxing, a contender must outmatch his opponent in speed, power, agility, and footwork. Open ocean sports, however, differ for various reasons and require fine-tuning on a wide array of unique areas.
It's based on the way it feels. It's not based on this exercise does this, and I read the book, and the book taught me that this exercise does this. Because not most people are training to paddle an outrigger canoe, or to go surfing, or to do anything in the water, a body surf, paddle a surfboard out. Most of the world's not even thinking about this kind of stuff, Whereas us, that's top of mind for us all the time, So when we're in there doing a program or doing what we do, so much of it is based on what does it feel like, because you're trying to mimic what you're going through when you're out there, whether you're paddling or surfing or doing whatever, and you're trying to do things that are going to enhance that performance. So 8 reps are great, but we paddle for 3 hours straight sometimes.
Feel the boat, Zach. Feel the boat.
Functional movement, mechanics, a lot of body weight movement, and then you load in certain positions. And you still got to put some size on a little bit, because you want to be strong out there. Because as you know, nothing can really match the power of Mother Nature.
I don't remember who came up with it, but we came up with this workout where one guy would ride a bike and the other guy was holding onto a rope on the back of the bike on a skateboard and holding a dumbbell in one hand and swinging it and trying to get as much torque as possible on the skateboard, pulling the guy on the bike, and the guy on the bike is trying to resist that. And we would ride all over the neighborhood, pulling each other and, you know, hollering at each other. And then a day or two after that, I'm in clinic. I had a new patient, and they said, "Oh yeah, you know, we're just establishing care. We just moved into town, and you know, man, this is such a cool area. It's so quirky and just, you know, just eccentric and cool and quirky." And I said, "What do you mean?" She says, "Well, let me just give you an example. Last night we were driving around looking at places for rent, and there were these two guys riding a bike and a skateboard and lifting weights at the same time, and they weren't even kids." I was like, "Yeah, they were kids, you know." So yeah, man, it's been a lot of fun and very rewarding having a friend and a training partner like Christian. I'm very grateful for him.
Christian trains his watermen with a vast array of methods, but there is one area of training paramount to the rest, and that is safety. Understanding that Mother Nature is unpredictable is a given, but being prepared is key.
You don't only have a limited number of reps. You have a limited number of breaths you're allowed to take during that exercise, during those exercises, during those movements. So you may have a 60-minute workout, but you only have 47 breaths in that workout. You know, so you gotta. And if you up on your first breath, take it easy. Let's say it's one push-up, and you take it for granted, and you don't focus on your breath. You ain't gonna make it. You won't hit 47. You'll be at like 57. But if you're focused on that first one, and trust me, you ain't thinking about work, and you ain't thinking about your personal life. When you're holding your breath, all you want to do is breathe. Imagine training in a gym where people did yoga, free dove, outrigger, and did ocean sports. Imagine training next to guys where a guy you could be like, "Oh, that guy rips," and you're watching him work out, and you're going, "Oh, oh, that's a nice move. Oh, I see why he does that. Oh, yeah, okay. No wonder he paddles out like a beast. Look how he trains. You see the stuff he does, and now you got a conglomerate of like information just going all over the place, man. It'd be phenomenal."
Christian's workouts and training methods aren't the only elements of Crossup that one might consider unorthodox and innovative. His program represents much more than simply a brand name. One might consider a club or a social organization, but it's much more than that. It is a tight-knit crew of like-minded individuals with an unbreakable bond, deeply entrenched by the ocean.
If you could describe Crossup in one word, what would that word be, and why did you choose that one?
Just one word?
Just one word. It can be a compound word.
It's family.
Why did you choose that word?
So much love and respect, and I'm getting all emotional here.
My word for Crossup is family. I have been through
the absolute worst times of my life. And this family is what I could count on every single time.
I would say family.
It's a community.
It seems obvious, but the word is crew.
The first word that came to mind was like tribal, in this way that it's a small core group, some sort of private, and you just don't not show up. You're so committed. And so like there's this element of family or like sister or brotherhood, bound together by the water. We're bound together by the insane effort that we put forth. We're bound together by our commitment and consistency. Just feels like kind of tribal in that way.
Okay, so today we're going to do uni drills and we're going to do a huli drill. All right? Before we do that, we're going to work on what it takes to connect to the canoe. So, Caitlin, will you get in the 3-seat and just sit with your butt all the way back and don't connect to the canoe? First of all, I wanted to put together a weekend that was. I've gone to a lot of camps, and there's a lot of coach and teach at the camps. I wanted something that literally, when they were finished, my goal is always, even on paddles or whatever event you're going to go do or whatever challenge you're taking on, is it's about going through this journey of emotions, of intensity, of giving it all. So when you're finished is when you feel great. You don't necessarily feel great when it's going on because it's such a challenge. It takes you to places that you don't necessarily want to go. You know, you show up, you're kind of nauseous because you know it's going to be so intense. But when you're finished, you're euphoric and you're just in a zone that you can't even express in words of, you know, almost like a great surf trip. You know, when you got some big waves and you caught those killer waves, the moment you realize the surf is great, normally it's over. You're like, oh, it's great. You know, and that's the kind of camp that I was trying to put together for the crew. I wouldn't even call it a camp. I call it more of like a coach's corner, because you're trying to get a plethora of information out and get everybody on the same page.
Training of any sort is preparation for a larger goal in mind. It is a boundless pursuit to surpass each goal and search for something even greater. In the world of professional surfing, Bonsai Pipeline on the North Shore of Oahu is unanimously considered a monumental achievement for every surfer. Similarly, a 27-mile race from Maui to the island of Molokai is considered a heroic milestone for canoers and stand-up paddlers.
I think that as far as goals go, of course Hawaii is the big deal. You know, Maui to Molokai is what everybody wants to do, but only a few get in. So, You got to really have some big skills there. But that's ultimately the goal, right? Developing those skills, keep adding in, you know, getting involved in each of those seats, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they're each special and they're each different. And I think that really is what sets it apart, is when you join Crossup. Is the boat is really what ties everything together, and then the crew just makes it melt. So it really is great.
I met Christian on St. Pete Beach at a paddleboard race. A friend of ours named Chase used to put on the local paddleboard races, and he was the first guy I ever met who had raced in Hawaii, and I wanted to know how he did it. I actually met him through his kids. His kids were little groms hanging out on the beach back then, you know, little groms. Now they're all just killing it. They're all adults and watermen, paddlers, surfers. Two of them were fighting on the beach, and I broke it up and started talking to them. Like, hey, you know, what's the big deal? And they shook hands and everything, and we're all getting along. And then one of them looks up at me and he goes, "You know who my dad is?" I was like, "No." He goes, "My dad paddled the Molokai." I was like, "Oh, really? I got to meet this dude." So yeah, we met at that race and said, you know, we should start training. And that was going on 11 years ago. We've been training for the last 10.5 years together, and I think we missed 2 workouts in that time.
I can't. If you ask anybody about the Molokai, and I always say this to my buddy Pat Klemowicz, which he's done it as well. If you ask anybody about the Molokai, the first thing they do is go, because what it takes to finish it is the first 28 miles, man. It's all right. It's all right. It's hard, but it's all right. But that last bit of that thing, man, it is pure. You gotta want it. It's got to be the most important thing in your life. And when you finish, the difference between something like that and playing sports, you know, you score a touchdown with a football, you jump up and down, and you go, "I'm the man," right? Baseball, you hit a home run, you're like, "I'm the man." Whatever you do, you wrestle, you're like, "I'm the man." When you finish Molokai, you bow your head and you kiss your wife, and you're so happy to see your kids. You don't think you're cool, you don't think you're a badass. It is pure humility. And even though what you accomplish is a pretty exceptional magnitude, the humility you get out of it is the best part of it, you know? And the best advice I got was from this guy named George Ramos, who died of cancer and had done it every time from its inception. And he said, make sure you have somebody you love waiting for you at the end. And it was the pride, because my kids were there, my wife were there, and just the only thing in my head was how proud they were going to be of me when I finished that race. It's deep, man. And then I went back and did it multiple times. I failed on it one time, and then when I failed on it, I basically grew a beard, and I said, I'm not going to shave till I cross solo. And I basically had, and then you see me crossing when I have a really big beard, and I went and crossed and finished with a beard. And then things started switching a little bit. We did M2M on OC2s and OC1s, and we really started having fun in that environment. So it went from just getting destroyed to going, hey man, this is okay, this is all right, you know? But let me tell you another story about the first crossing. On the first crossing, the winds are in my face, I'm barely moving, a moth flew by me into the wind. And I said, well, if that little guy can make it, I can make it. if he can pass me, I can make it. Flew into 30-mile-an-hour winds, zoomed right by me. I'm like, wow, that's a beautiful moment.
So we have real different backgrounds, real different training philosophies, and he said something to me, and I went home and I wrote it on a Post-it note, and I got it in my office on the wall with the date on it. I think it was September of 2009, if I remember correctly. And it says, comfort is the enemy of greatness. And and that's been the story for the last 10 odd years, is keep yourself out of your comfort zone, keep challenging it, keep trying new stuff, keep playing, keep experimenting, and watch what you're capable of. Just expand. It's a beautiful thing.
Leading by example is something that comes natural to Christian. His immersive training style exudes an undeniable adoration and devotion.
Hoolies make you great. We love hoolies.
He is not working out for general fitness or reasons of vanity, only so he may measure up to what the ocean provides for him. We live the lifestyle, you'll often hear him say, a verifiable statement, as there is no time off for this waterman. When he's not training himself or others, you can most often find him putting his practice to play. Because being out of his comfort zone is his comfort zone.